It's been over half a century now since the war in Vietnam, but many older veterans are still dealing with fallout from that conflict. A Minnesotan who served as a combat medic in all the war all those years ago has a new book he hopes will help veterans. Joining us now is Bill Straczynski, author of Care Under Fire. Welcome, Bill. Really, truly, thank you for being here. Appreciate your service that you gave to this country. What prompted you to write a book about your war experience?
Well, there was a couple of things, but I think the first one is I was asked to be a guest speaker, a keynote to the Minnesota Ambulance Association when they did their Stars of Life Awards a couple of years ago. And I had to think about that. And I said, okay, I'll do that. And because if anybody understood what I went through as a combat medic, it's the EMT paramedics.
Certainly.
And so I prepared some materials. I started writing my book and delivered my speech, and I got a standing ovation. I said, welcome home, brought tears to my eyes, and then they gave me one of the Stars of Life Awards. And I said, since I have a good start on some material, I thought I might as well finish completing my story. I've been thinking about it for years and years, and I wanted my family to know who I am and how I got to doing what I do and how I make decisions and everything else. And so here it is. We got her done.
Bill, talk a little bit about what it was like as a 20-year-old to go to war, because I think a lot of people don't realize what young soldiers are being asked to do and what they go through.
Yeah, it was a very interesting experience, first of all. I was trained as a medic for 10 weeks, and I never saw a hospital other than my training at Fort Sam Houston, Texas. When I was in Vietnam, I was assigned to the infantry, and I spent my whole year in the field on patrols and doing everything, every day in the field. So it was didn't know what to expect. It was very hard. So I ended up learning how to put away the things of a teenager, and then picking up the instruments of war and learning how to deal with some pretty traumatic circumstances and processing all of those circumstances the rest of my life. So it was really challenging to do that. And I'm not sure young people today have, or nor should they be, perhaps, I think, have that same opportunity to learn about how far they can push themselves, how to overcome adversity or what have you. So.
Which brings up the question, Bill, what's the most important lesson you want readers of your book to take away from the book?
I think one of the most important lessons to realize is that freedom is not free, and you hear that expression all the time. But more importantly, these veterans who served in war, any war, I mean, they give a lot of their lives. Some of them give their lives. So that's traumatic enough. But they spend the rest of their lives dealing with the consequences of combat and of war. I didn't serve just 2 years in the Army. I've been serving since the day I got out of the Army for over 50 years with some of the issues. So I think that's really important that we now remember the veterans. And paramedics and everyone can relate to all of these things, and doctors and EMTs. It's about post-traumatic stress. So what's really, I wanted people to understand coming home now and dealing with that. You have veterans who have retired. They've worked, they've raised a family their whole life. And they've worked their whole life, and now they're home and they're retired. And there's 100 veterans commit suicide a year in Minnesota. And so we need to help them. If you recognize somebody that needs some help, or talk to them, ask them what their story is. Get them to process these things they should have processed years ago.
In your work as a lobbyist, you did work on getting state funding for television documentaries about Vietnam and your experiences there. How did that help shape your decision to tell your story?
Dennis, it helped a lot because I worked with the legislature, and I testified a number of times before the legislature about the importance of getting that money to do a Minnesota Remembers Vietnam project for the same period of time, and for a year actually, and that was around the Ken Burns series on the Vietnam War. And so I testified a lot, and people started asking me lots of questions, and I could relate and presented some of my own experiences with them and how important this documentary would be for Minnesota Remembers Vietnam and all of the things we were going to do. So that helped a lot. That was also the other catalyst that prompted me to write my story.
The title of the book, Care Under Fire. Talk about, maybe share a story about an example of what that was like to provide care under fire, because providing care at any point is stressful. Any EMT would be able to tell you that, but you're actually under fire. Share that.
Yeah, I can briefly tell you the most traumatic experience I had, at least was the first person under my watch that was killed in action. We were moving into an ambush patrol one night. You go out at night, you set up an ambush, and you wait for the enemy to come down your trail or your spot, and you attack them. But we were a little bit late, and we were going past this village, and we were in a wide open area. And the fellow next to me, and there's 10 of us on patrol, he saw a machine gun on the berm about 200 yards away, and he said, "Hit it, Doc." So he and I, we all hit it then. We got down on the ground as the machine gun burst, hit in front of us, and it burst through dirt into my face. And one of the bullets, one of the ricochets, ricochets through dirt in my face, but one of the bullets struck him, and he died several hours later that night. But he was in so much pain. Care under fire, we're still being shot at, and he's trying to get up and move around and whatever, and I'm laying on top of him, giving him morphine to calm him down and do what I could and render that care. And that incident has always stuck with me my entire life. I relive that incident. That man saved my life, but I couldn't save his.
Wow. I need a short answer on this. Post-traumatic stress. What advice do you have for people who are still experiencing post-traumatic stress?
Well, I think veterans, I think EMTs, physicians, nurses, everybody, they should really talk about it with other people. Talk about it with other veterans if you want, and seek professional help if you need it. But at least start talking about it so that you can process it. All of us are willing to listen to it and help you get the help you need. You know, courage under fire is one thing where you're protecting your friends or defending freedom or whatever, but there's courage after that, and that's courage fighting for your benefits and your rights with the Veterans Administration, and they've been very, very good about addressing some of these issues nowadays.
Bill Straczynski, Care Under Fire. Thank you, Bill, for serving again in the war.
Thank you. It's been my pleasure to be here.
Thank you.